What up, Wastelanders? Christopher here, Gaslands NorCal. Thanks for joining once again for another creation video. Now, if you watched some of my previous videos, you know I did some terrain builds, I did some gates, I did a shack, I did a ramp, so larger terrain pieces. This time we're going to talk about smaller terrain, scatter terrain. Now, if you're like me, you really like to be immersive in the game, so that's why I don't like cars that look more like toys, like Legos and stuff like that. I really like it to look more realistic because, you know, it's going to really happen someday in the future when gas runs out or is short and people arm their cars. So I want to be immersive. So like I said, we're going to talk about scatter terrain. Specifically, I've got some jersey walls here from AK, and I'm going to put those on some different basing and paint them up and everything else, just because scatter terrain gives your board a little more realism and stuff. Now, keep in mind, Gaslands is a game that you can play with no terrain or, you know, popsicle sticks and salt shakers as your terrain. You don't have to, but I just like to make mine more realistic and more immersive, so that's why we're going to do scatter terrain today. So stick around and let's get to crafting. Alright, so as far as scatter terrain goes and barriers and stuff go, jersey walls are pretty universal. Not just the fact that you can find them anywhere, whether it's on Etsy or on Thingiverse or, you know, several different locations throughout the internet. They're also like worldwide. I think that the types and how the configuration everything goes for jersey walls vary probably from city to city or county to county, but I'm sure they do from nation to nation. But still, they're pretty universal as far as barriers go. But the only thing that I watch out for when doing my scatter terrain, especially with jersey walls and smaller, thinner terrain like this, is getting them knocked over, because you're always going to have that exciting event or something happens with a guy that just not paying attention and he's going to hit it and bump it, and your jersey's walls are going to scatter and you're like, well, crap, where was it at? So I always like to base them, and there's a couple different ways we're going to talk about basing as far as the jersey walls go. One of the ways that I really like is using tongue depressors. These work really well, especially for jersey walls, because they're pretty much the exact size that you're really looking for, and they lay very flat, and it's really, I mean, you really have to try to knock these things over. So those work out really well. And then also just using some really thin cardboard, which we're going to do for our curved jersey walls to make these a little bit longer. And so we're going to get all these glued down. And the thing that I like about these AK jersey walls, as you can see, is that they're all already distressed and broken up and have hit marks and gunshots and everything else in them. So yeah, these things are really, really cool. So let's get these things based up. I'm going to cut out the cardboard on these ones so they're all work out and stuff, and then we'll start getting them primed, and we'll talk about the painting and everything else that's going to go along with them. It's going to be a quick video, but it should be pretty fun. So yeah, let's get these things based. Alright, so we're all primed up. I used a darker prime than I normally do for like my vehicle builds and stuff, just because I wanted it a little bit darker because it's going to make it easier to weather and whatnot. Love all the cracks and everything out there coming out, but since it is a little bit darker, I want to bring out some of the highlights before I start doing any of the panel liner stuff or any of the highlights on the cracks and whatnot. So we're going to be going with the bone from Monument Hobbies Pro Acryl. Just going to be doing some dry brushing over it, bring everything out. And I got something special going on for the basing and stuff, get some rocks and stuff. And I got a little secret I'm going to share with y'all to make sure stuff doesn't slide around if you're bumping into it as you're racing around the wasteland. So let's get a dry brush, and then we'll see where we're at before we start doing some panel liner. Alright, so dry brushing looks pretty good. Getting all the details and stuff popping out there like I wanted it to. Next, we're going to jump over to the panel liner. This is the black color coming from Tamiya. Just going to kind of drop it in all the little spots and everything, and it's really going to make the cracks and everything come out really, really well. Before we take a look and see what else we might do with it, and then we can start adding the rocks and stuff to the base. So let's get some panel liner on there and see how it looks, and then we'll go from there. But yeah, loving it. Alright, so the panel liner is all applied. You can see how the cracks and the holes and everything start coming out a lot more with the panel liner on there, looking very cool. I could just base these, and we'll add some stuff to the base, some rocks and stuff, and these be good as is, but I want to add a little bit more weathering to it. I'm going to add some graffiti to certain spots on there, just make it look a little bit more wastelands and stuff before we add the rock and everything, and get these things good to go. So let's get these things graffitied up. But yeah, these things are looking very cool so far. These AK barriers, yeah, not half bad. Alright, so the graffiti and stuff is all on there, looking pretty good, making these things look a little bit more weathered and whatnot. Next we're going to do the rock for the base. Really easy to do. It's not really even a secret, it's just kind of one of the things that, you know, crafters learn to do as they move throughout their journey of being like tabletop crafters, I guess. What we're going to do is we're going to take some Elmer's school glue. We're going to mix this with some water to get it kind of runny and stuff, apply it to the base, and then we got this box of sandy rock. So once it's all on the base and stuff, we just get it all on there, let it dry, and yeah, the bases will be all completed, and then we'll take a look and see what else we need to do. But that's as easy as it gets, so let's get that going, and we'll see where we're at when we're done. Alright, so everything's all based up with the rock and everything else, got the graffiti and stuff. And these things would be good as is. I just want to add a few more touches to it. I'm going to add some grass in a couple areas, just with these basing grasses. You can get them, you know, for all sorts of different basing for miniatures and whatnot. I want to use more of the, like the scrub looking grass, because it's supposed to be the wastelands. It's not like well tended or watered or anything else. I'm just going to add a few of those onto there. Then we're going to add the finishing touch, the secret sauce, which is sandpaper. I like to use the 220 fine sandpaper, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into a very thin strip and stick it on the bottom, because this is very smooth, and when it's on your playing mat and it gets bumped, it's going to slide pretty well across the board. So adding the sandpaper is going to give it a little more grip, and so it will not slide. I've done that with all sorts of pieces of terrain, whether they're standard terrain or larger bits, and it makes for a better gameplay so things don't get bumped and moved around. So let's get the scrub added and the sandpaper, and then these things will be able to get onto the battle board and be used. So let's do it. Okay, and there we have it. 4 jersey barriers are all detailed up, grimed up, graffitied, and ready for the wastelands, ready to stick on that board and cause some chaos and get things going the way they should. These things, like I said, they're really easy to do, really easy to detail and base and stuff. Doesn't take a whole lot. You can get jersey barriers, like I said, anywhere on the internet. You can buy them at your local game store. You can download them if you have a 3D printer. They're really easy to print. There's so many places you can get them. Countless almost places, but it's just adding your own unique little bits and pieces to it to make it your own. It's just a lot of fun, really easy to do. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, do me a favor, hit that like button. My goal is to do weekly videos, whether they're vehicle builds, terrain builds, battle reports, whatever. So if that's for you, hit the sub button below and ring the bell to get notified when new content drops. I do sell all my builds and terrain pretty inexpensively on my Etsy page, so if you want to pick some of it up, see what else I've done, you can even request a custom build. Check out the link in the description below. If you'd really like to show some love, head on over to my Patreon page to get signed up. Every bit helps keep the paint flowing, the printer printing, and the camera rolling. Until next time, keep your foot on the gas and your finger on the trigger. Gaslands NorCal, signing out.